For loops in Algorand Python are used to iterate over sequences, ranges, and arc-for arrays, and they work the same as native Python. If you're not familiar with how for loops work in native Python, definitely check out online Python tutorials and circle back to this video. Now, Algorand Python uses algopy.um64 as the default number type rather than int like native Python. So it provides UN64 supported for loop functions like uEnumerate and uRange for creating sequences and ranges. The uEnumerate function is an Algorand Python version of enumerate that works with algopy.un64 type. Uenumerate is useful when you need both the index and the value of the sequence that you're looping over. So essentially, it will give you an indexed list that you can work with. The uRange function is an Algorand Python version of range that works with algopy.un64 type. It generates a sequence of UN64 numbers that you can iterate over. These two functions work with the Python built-in reversed function, which returns a reversed iterator of a sequence. Let's take a look at this for loop example. First, we are creating a type alias named forArray, which is an arc-for static array that contains 4 uint 8 type. Then inside the for loop, we are initializing an empty for array that contains 0 values. And we're assigning that to the variable named array. Now let's take a look at this first for loop example. Here it says for index, item in uEnumerate, and inside the parentheses we have reversed uRange, and the uRange has the argument 4. Now what does this mean? So first, let's take a look at this uRange 4 part. So by passing in the number 4 to the uRange function, it's going to create a sequence that goes from 0, 1, 2, and 3. Then by wrapping that sequence with the reversed function, which is a Python native function, we're going to reverse that sequence, and the sequence is now 3, 2, 1, 0. Now uEnumerate is useful for obtaining an indexed list. So you can get both the index and the item of a sequence. So if you need both of those values while you're looping through the sequence with the for loop, you can use uEnumerate. So here we're pulling out the index and the item. And what we're doing here is we're indexing into the array, which is the static array that we defined outside the for loop. And we're assigning the item that we pulled out from the sequence that we created inside the for loop. After this first for loop, the array variable should now contain a static array that goes from 3, 2, 1, 0. Now let's look at this second for loop that's actually just using the uRange function. So here we have a uRange that has 1, 5 inside as an argument. So what that's going to do is it's going to create a sequence that starts from the number 1 to number 4. Now, unlike uEnumerate, uRange is only going to let you play around with the values as inside the sequence. So you won't get the index of the sequence. So what we're doing here is we have a variable x, which is assigned to 0 UN64 type, and we're going to increment that x variable with the item that we pull out from the sequence. After we go through the for loop, by adding 1, 2, 3, and 4, the x variable should equal to 10. So this is how you can use uRange and uEnumerate while you're working with for loops inside an Algorand smart contract.